Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Welcome to Detroit in Black and White, our Friday edition. It's just me and Vanessa tonight. Jim is somewhere down south doing his thing. Allan, I don't know what he's doing, but he's not here today. But we're here.
Right. This is like old times. We started out together when you started your show now 8 years ago. Dang.
Yeah, but I don't even want to say you sent me some folks.
You can say it.
I know. I'll leave it alone. We're here tonight, and we're gonna. You know what? Did you read my article?
I read that article, and listen, it has. Wait. First of all, let me say good evening to all of you that are watching Detroit in Black and White on YouTube. We want you to hit that like button, like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends about Detroit in Black and White. I want to say good evening to all of you that are watching us on Facebook and all the other social media platforms. Good evening, good evening. Join in the conversation with your comments. We'll make sure that we acknowledge your comments. Good evening, Dave, Kenneth Reed, Karen Winston, and Queen B. Hey, y'all.
Yeah, Kenneth Reed said, good morning, Adolph and team. I just read that the Sheffield game is out for you. Well, let the motherfuckers come for me. I've dealt with this shit for years. I've dealt with the Ku Klux Klan. I've dealt with racists. I've dealt with black separatist organizations. As a reporter, listen, when I was in high school, I had people threaten me. I had a phys ed teacher wanted to fight me because I wrote an article about a junior varsity basketball player who was black was cut from the team because he was in special ed. He was the best player on the team. I wrote the article. We had a great journalism advisor, and they had to put him back on the team. Now I'm gonna tell you how that impact of that article. Now this is in the 1970s, 1971, 1972, etc. I go to a high school reunion 50 years later. The basketball coach is there. Now he 80-something years old. And he says, you still got a poison pen? I've been reading your stuff. And he said, I didn't sleep for 6 months after you wrote that article. I said, that shit been 50 years ago. But it's about the press. It's about, it's about being right. It ain't about, you can criticize folks. Listen, Coleman Young was the mayor for 20 years. He got beat up every day in the newspapers. He got beat up nationally, locally, in the neighborhoods. But he never threatened to beat people up or kill folks or whatever. And he just continued to push his agenda for the city. And he could dish it out and he could take it. These thin-skinned assholes, they thin-skinned, you say one word, they don't want you to say shit. And listen, they don't say what you wrote or what you said is false. they don't want you to say shit.
Well, you know what? Let me say this. You asked me, did I read the article? Of course, I read the article. And before I could finish reading it, I started getting text messages because there were people that got that had the story, and it was spreading like fire. All in City Hall. I know people who work for the city of Detroit. They texted, "Hey, I got I got this article. Did you read the article?" But here's the thing, and I said this the other night. When you put yourself in a position, you and I put ourselves in a position to be criticized. We on this show, on this platform, 3 days a week. Listen, if we're going to dish it out, we have to be able to take it. Now, you running for whoever it is. You run for the presidency, you run for governor, you run for mayor of the city of Detroit. You're going to take the praises, but you're also going to have to take the lumps. And you have to be accountable. There is no way that you can sit and hold an office as a city council person, as a mayor, and not be held accountable. For me, and I said this weeks ago, anybody that's sitting on city council 10, 12 years, and y'all, for me, and you just not talking about the neighborhood and the schools, you got an issue. Anybody that's sitting on city council for 10 to 12 years, and you mad because somebody wrote an article that's backed up with, as we say in the street, with receipts, is ridiculous to me. The first article that you wrote, and you and I had this conversation, I said, well, it looked like you're trying to put her up on game and tell her, look, clean up your act. Instead of taking the high road and saying, hey, there's an article out there that said this, let me address it. It sounds as if, and I know that you're telling the truth, that now people want to attack you. And it started right after that May 30th article came out. You just hadn't said anything. I imagine that the threat has escalated.
Well,
you know what it sounds like to me. I hate to say this, but you know what it sounds like to me.
What?
Who listen, if it's a family, I don't know if it's a family member that's threatening you, but this, as you said in the article, we've been here before.
I've been there before. I'm dealt with this shit all over years. That if people got pissed at me when I was in Maryland, and the first day I went to Frederick, Maryland, Frederick County Courthouse, I saw a statue of Roger B. Taney, the Supreme Court Justice who wrote the opinion on Dred Scott, saying that black folks were 3/5 human beings, and he was from Frederick, Maryland. Mm-hmm. He got a house that's still in Frederick, Maryland. And I wrote an article saying they should tear that fucking statue down. This was 1979. I had people threaten me. They threatened the newspaper. They calling me names. They people that know me, they wouldn't talk to them. It's just the bottom line is, well, I dealt with it before. I've been spit on, called nigger, and all kind of shit because of stuff that I wrote about. But it was never about that is false. That's not the truth. They just didn't like what I wrote about. Now, I said in the first article, I'm not mad at Mary.
You said you like her.
She's smart, etc. And then I get all these threats. You better shut up. You better not say this. You better leave that shit.
That's with the wrong one. I'm like, are you serious?
Is it a fucking mafia? When I fell out with Coleman Young, I fell out with the mayor, and I quit.
Right.
I had people saying, "You can't quit. You can't quit the mayor. Fuck it. He's not the mob. He's not the Gambino family. I can't quit." But you know what? I got to be After I left the city and I needed something, who did I call? I called the mayor. And guess what? The mayor took my call and we was straight. But people, you can't have an opinion. Voters should have an opinion. We should have an opinion. You can and vote for whoever you want to vote for. I ain't mad at you. Listen, you come out and say this is who I'm supporting. If you, I debated people that I grew up with, and they voted for Donald Trump. That don't mean I hate them.
Exactly.
I'm gonna smack them in the face. I'm not talking to you because you did that. That's on them. They got to live with that vote, not me. But the bottom line is they can't handle, like Eric said, they can't handle
the truth.
and they can't handle the truth. There's all kind of shit that's going on, and you got to examine your record. Who has the better record? Now, what? Let's look at it. What did Mary Sheffield do before she became a city council person? What did Santel Jenkins or Ken Locke or all these other folks
Todd Perkins
do? Todd Perkins, etc.
Right. So I'm going to read some of these comments, and then I'm going to get back to my comment. Karen Winston said, "Good evening to the dynamic duo." Day said, "Good evening." I saw a comment that was very interesting. Hold on 1 second. Trying to scroll down. Jill Sheridan. Good evening, Jill. Queen Bee says she flew Delta Airlines to get to Twitter to hear Adolph. She also said that she said it was that when I made the comment about it went all around City Hall, she said, "Yep, the city employees shared it the most." Yeah, I talked to quite a few people about that, and then she went on to say that she felt you probably could have said more than what you said, and you didn't. You held back. Money Hollywood says, "Did anyone watch and hear about the Detroit Metro pastors and faith-based leaders' endorsement of the mayor Mike, where religious leaders lie in alignment? Detroiters fall in alignment. Detroiters will." Yeah, Adolph and I talked about that last night. I guess we're going to eventually talk about that. He also says vote independent. What happened in voting Democrat? He's laughing. Cynthia Johnson, hey, Cint. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. You don't like my music said he has learned that neither side likes independent voices. And that is so true.
And you got to stand up. You know what? I guess I got in trouble all my damn life because I said stuff. I had a class when I was in college. I was at the University of Michigan. English literature I had to take, and they gave us a syllabus. And I looked at the books that we supposed to purchase and read, and I didn't see any body by any people of color. And then some of the books that's on there, I read them in the 8th grade. Now I'm at the University of Michigan, and I read several of these books when I was in the 8th grade. I raised my hand. Professor, a woman, said yes. I said, "Do blacks write books?" He looked at me like, yeah. She said, yes. I said, "Why we don't have them on here?" I said, "I read this. And she said, where you go to school?" I told her where I went to school. And then I come back 2 days later because the class was 3 days a week. And she had on there the usual suspect, James Baldwin, who was a great author, Richard Wright and stuff. And I said, "Well, that's not good enough."
Right.
That's not good enough. You know, I dropped the class. I left a sister in there. I said, I'm gonna have to leave you because she got a radar on me.
Right.
But the bottom line is, you got to stand up and you got to say something. And if you don't say it, if you be quiet, what was that song? Sounds of Silence. You don't say it, you might as well be right with them.
Okay, but here's the deal. It's not just you saying something or people exercising their right to have their opinion. The fact and the unmitigated gall that someone has to call and threaten you, and I don't know if they threaten to do physical harm, but the fact that they're lodging threats. Listen, the city of Detroit's gone through bankruptcy. Before the bankruptcy, you had this big scandal with the mayor. Nobody wants to have anybody in office coming into office with that kind of drama. That is just ridiculous. And more importantly, nobody wants anybody in office that is not willing to stand up and say, hey, look, I'm going to take account. I did this, and this, and I deserve credit for this. And you know what? I made a misstep. We always talk about accountability. As kids, our parents want us to be accountable for our actions. As adults, if you work for somebody, you have to be accountable for your actions. This is, I mean, it just blew my mind that this is happening. And like I said, you and I talked offline, and I knew something was going on. But that article, man, listen, people have been sharing it. People call me and say, yeah, I'm sharing it and sending it. This could be a game changer in that poll that they have with her at 38. I don't know, but like you, I don't have a problem with it. I have a problem with somebody threatening somebody and telling them you better shut your mouth. I have a big problem with that.
Well, you know,
she needs to talk to her campaign to stop it.
And we're gonna throw dirt on you. We're gonna do this. Well, go ahead. I'm not running for office.
Exactly. Come with it.
I am not running for office. I am not trying to get elected. I'm not trying to whatever. I'm just stating the fact. If I see where a candidate missed 90% of their meetings for economic and development in Detroit, and then blow it off like it's nothing, or they hanging out with people that admitted that they bribed elected officials. You can't say nothing. You're supposed to just.
If you living in a glass house, don't throw no stones. So Stephanie Jackson said a hit dog will bark. I think she meant a hit dog will holler. But exactly, that is just, man, that is something else. Karen Winston said, yeah, they stalk you, block you from public comments at meetings, and hack your account. I guess she's talking about city council meetings. G Money says, for your information, full transparency, he's always been independent. He call him a neutralcrat because he vote for the man and not the party, and leans strongly toward conservative values. I'm not led by the false church. Laura Davis says racist. I don't know who's talking about. Our guy, Whitney Clark for Detroit, he said, good evening, family. I heard he's been giving people the business too. And you don't like my music said left-wing activists can be absurdly vindictive and cruel to dissenters too.
But that's the same way, whether they right wing, left wing, where people say, you know what, you can't. Oh, you disrespected me, but then you disrespect somebody else. So you know, it's like. We used to play this little clip from with G. Robinson movie. He said, "You can dish it out, but you can't take it."
Right.
You know what? Yeah, and that's the bottom line. You
Right.
should be able to, if you can dish it out, you can take it. When I was growing up, people played the dozens. They talk about your mama, your daddy, anything they knew about you, and you didn't fight them. You didn't came back at them. If you knew anything about their family, don't let your father drink too much, or your
Right.
mother, or your mother did this, or your brother did that, or your family, because they gonna talk about it, and that's just the way it was. And you might go home crying, saying, they talking about you, and your mama or daddy say, well, you go back and talk about them, But you didn't go and you knock it. People did get into fist fights over stuff,
Right.
but that's kids, and we're not talking about
not adults. Exactly.
We're not talking about kids.
Right. Carl Org said, Adolph, you're a story journalist, among other things, and voters rely on people like you to report all of the information so that they are reasonably informed when they cast their vote. Terry McCrimmon says, another good old saying was, if you don't take the heat, then get the hell out of the kitchen. And Dorian, good evening, Dorian Denard Sheffield, I feel attacked. Now, I will say that she did address the information about her not going to meetings. I forgot what debate it was, and she said, "Well, whoever said that was uninformed. They didn't know what they were talking about." But again, it was just a blow off, And I'm like, well, you think people just writing stuff just to be writing stuff? You think people just saying things to be just saying things? Sometimes people do. But in this case, this is in black and white. And did they say they was going to sue you for slander? Did they tell you, say anything like that to you?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. But it's backed up by receipts. That's my thing. I mean, you didn't say anything that was not true.
It's not personal.
Right.
Why, it's personal. And listen, when the internet got to be red hot, I used to hate to get on the internet because I've had people call me all kind of names, say all kind of stuff. And when I was really fully working and had an office here in the city, I come back in the morning and there was voicemails on my phone where they calling me all kind of names, all kind of stuff. I'm used to dealing with this shit, and you deal with it. But I'm like, today we got candidates. We got some good candidates that's running for mayor. We do have some good candidates, and then all of a sudden, I got people saying, coming to me saying, I talked to so and so, and they said, you need to shut up. You need to be quiet. Leave them alone. Leave me. I heard that shit when Kwame ran. When I didn't support Kwame, when he
came back and asked you to work for him.
Right. When he first ran, yeah, leave Kwame alone and all this stuff. I'm like, God, you're looking at a record, and you can't question it. You just have to just let it go. And we got and I had one of the media outlets call me talking about who are you working for? Are you working for the person or that person? I said, it don't matter. I said, one, I'm not working for anybody, but two, even if I was working for any of these folks, that's my opinion.
Exactly.
Why? But I know what was happening. They trying to beat me up so I can't get on one of these news shows.
But that's not gonna happen because they'll call you like they always do. It's not gonna work.
Observer. Like, why are you calling me on that shit?
Right.
Listen.
Well, listen. Queen B says broadcast media is bullshit, and you can tell because nobody reported Sheffield missing those meetings. Furthermore, I wonder if her supporters would have called and threaten the people at those news stations. Mr. Duckett said it's getting weird out there. His Kinlock sign went missing. He hoped this passion translates into a higher voter turnout. Of course, Mr. McCrimmon says vote for Reverend Kinlock. Eric says one thing that these candidates have to understand: quit asking who all has committed to a form. You either agree to show up or you don't.
There's no question about it. And people think you take a sign out of somebody's yard, they're going to stop them from voting for that person. You know, and listen, the sign stealing has been around a long time.
Adolph, remember when they stole my signs and I called you all upset? This is about 10 years ago. I was so upset. They stole my signs. It is a crime. But you said, listen, signs don't vote, people vote, and that's what they do.
There's no question. I listen. When I worked for Coleman Young, and Tom Burrow was running against Coleman Young, and they didn't know me over at Tom Burrow's campaign, and I went over there and signed up as a volunteer sign coordinator. They gave me 300 signs. I didn't have to steal the signs. They just gave them to me, and I just took them and left. You know, he didn't have the signs. So, you know, it was like they spending this money. You know, people think you see all these signs out and say, oh, yeah, the campaign, they got so-and-so got 100 signs over in this neighborhood, of 300 signs do not fucking vote. Billboards don't vote. And this is all I'm seeing. All I see is all this paper that's coming. They killing a lot of trees because I see all this paper that's coming. And I've seen a few commercials on TV. Mary had a few commercials. And I said that her producers of her campaign has done a great job to convince people that she is the person. But when you ask the hard questions, she can't answer. Just like a Beyonce. You pay $1,000 for a ticket to go see her sing. She got a great presentation, but what the fuck is she singing? What kind of songs? Do you remember any of her songs? Remember all of Aretha Franklin songs and all these Nina Simone?
I know Beyonce songs, and a lot of us know Beyonce, but I get the analogy. I get it.
I don't know Beyonce song. I know she put on a great show, but if I have a one-on-one conversation, she can't tell me shit. Mm-hmm. Now I'm just telling you.
Right.
You have a one-on-one conversation, and I can go out and run for mayor and say I'm gonna do affordable housing, good paying jobs. What is that?
Listen, affordable housing, that's a catchphrase. What do you mean when you say affordable? Affordable to who? Because what you can afford may not be what the person, 2 miles, 3 miles that live away from you, 3 miles from you can afford. So that to me is a catchphrase. I get tired of people talk about affordable living. I don't know what that means. And people should ask that question. And when you say jobs, you creating a job, you telling me that you creating a job or that you're going to bring jobs here. Well, listen, if we listen and we believe what has happened in the last 12 years, I mean, Duggan has been the greatest mayor, right?
What jobs did he create?
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah. Beyonce is better than Taylor Swift because I don't even know what Taylor Swift sang. I don't even get it. But you're right. Who just said that? We're gonna take a break and come back and continue our conversation. This is Detroit in Black and White. It's me and Vanessa tonight.
Just me and you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. Are you living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure? Or maybe you know someone who's in the same situation. The probate process may be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. We have several nonprofit partners who have free attorneys who can assist you. Contact our office, 313-224-5990, or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. Don't lose your family property. Some of these properties have been in the family for 4 or 5 generations. Contact us now. We're here to help.
Okay. I go ahead. Go ahead.
I want to address, I want to read Dorian Denard's comment, and then if we can pivot and talk about the over 150 faith leaders
Okay.
in Michigan.
What you saying, faith leaders?
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Dorian Denard says, what about the $400 million balloon payment and how that's going to affect a budget, which apparently none of them know of how much it is with no new revenue?
Well, you know what? People, listen, none of these candidates, and is I think 1 or 2, talked about when the bill is due.
Right.
The bill is due. How you gonna give these folks their pension money back? I don't think so. The tax, what kind of tax break? Is there going to be layoffs? You know what? How are you going to balance the budget? See, Duggan got a clear path. They cleaned up the city's credit rating. They made it easier for him to come in, and we gave everything we had away. Gave it all away. You know, tax breaks and shit, 15, 20 years, they're not paying any taxes. And then we making promises. I hear 1 or 2 of the candidates I told Dan Gilbert, if I get elected mayor, you can have the Renaissance Center. We're going to give you all the money that you need to tear down it and create a utopia.
My question is, if that's what you hear, I automatically say, well, who out of the candidates have his ear? Who does he have access to?
Well, you know who.
I'm just saying, these are the things that the voters should be thinking about. If that is the rumor that's out there, who is it? 1 or 2 candidates. Who are these people? Who are these people? But I also think it's interesting when the mayor gave his last speech, State of the City speech, he alluded to, he's left Detroit in good condition for the next 5 years. The next 5 years. So, of course, we're in 1 year, and then next year he'll be running as 2. So it'll be within the 2nd or 3rd year of whoever the new mayor is that the bottom's going to fall out. That's how I look at it. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but those are the questions that naturally come to mind for me.
Okay.
I don't know what you think, but if somebody tells you that, okay, you got to clean, we straight for the next 5 years. One, the politicians, and I think Mayor Duggan is a masterful politician. But listen, he's a politician. I don't believe anything that any of these people say. I have to see it in order to believe it.
Well, you're from Missouri. Show me.
Exactly.
Show me state. And then you got all the 100 fake preachers. You said faith-based.
I see faith. It's 100. It was over 150, and it was Baptist. It was
They can't deliver jack shit. Not one fucking thing. They dead in the water because they can't get people to come to their church. I'm gonna tell you, you know why Ken Locke is popular and running for mayor? Because he's been able to get young folks to come to his church, and he got them by the thousands.
And you know what? It's the microwave service. It's not the begging of the mic.
It don't matter what. I don't believe in nothing. I ain't a religious person. I grew up in the church, and I'm gonna just tell you, he know how to bring people there, whether you agree with what he's talking about or not talking about. All I'm saying is, most of these big ass churches they empty. They fucking empty on Sunday. They don't bring nothing to the table, and they hijack funerals, because when they have a funeral and it's packed in church, they start doing sermons, because that's the only time they ever get some people coming in there. I'm just telling you that.
Wait. But listen. So I watched the YouTube. I watched it on YouTube, and actually I called you and asked you if you watched it. You was like, "Get off my phone!" But I watched it, and it is the optics, as far as I'm concerned, was very powerful. You had ministers on the right, ministers on the left, ministers in the back of the mayor.
But they can't get. They don't have. But they don't bring. They don't have the people. They don't have the people. They don't have a Reverend Clegg. They don't have a Nicholas Hood Jr. I'm not talking about the one that's still alive. I'm talking about his daddy.
Right.
They don't have that Reverend Hill. We don't have the Benjamin Hooks. I'm just telling you, these ministers, Reverend Sampson, all these. I'm just naming ministers that was able to go into the community. They cared about the community and stuff. You know, they was religious people, and they work with the city, etc. We got a church down there on 7 Mile in Woodward, and they've been building on that fucker for 30 years or 20 years or whatever years, and they ain't finished. They clogged up that whole area where they supposed to have been rehabbing that area, renovating, creating a new neighborhood, and people looking at that. Every time they got the golf tournament, they try to cover it up. You know, when are they gonna stop that? When are they gonna stop it?
Listen, Whitney Clark said that list is fake. He said his name was on it in the article. It's fake news, and our church community is spineless. Whoa! So I would not say, because I saw like I said, I watched the and it was some very popular ministers. Pastor Mayor, he said Pastor Mayor could not even pronounce Mike D's name correctly. It was awful. He said it was awful that all of them read from cue cards, and they were written by their church secretaries. Wait. One of our viewers, I was like, look, I'm talking to them earlier today. I said, listen, I'm going to send you the YouTube. I don't want to see it. You're going to piss me off. I don't want to see it. So I think that supports your point of, listen, they can't deliver, but they do have the pulpit to convince.
The pulpit of what?
Wait a minute. It was ministers from all over the state of Michigan. It wasn't just Detroit.
An empty church. You turned me on to the greatest minister, one of the greatest ministers in the world. He no longer with us. Say hell no to the no.
Bishop, that's my boy.
And one of his songs was
hell no.
Some preachers ain't. Listen, he said it right. He said it right.
So, to our viewer who asked, did we see that? Yes, we did. Well, yes, I did. I don't know, Adolph, did you watch it?
What?
Did you watch the ministers along with
Why?
So I guess you did. Well, I watched it.
I saw them standing up there. It's just like that time when Granholm was at the NAACP. She said, all of my Detroit people stand up. That means all of my niggers stand up, and they all stood up. And I said that on a news show. I said, this broad talk about all my Negroes stand up, and they all stood up and stuff. It's like, God, are we so stupid?
Well, listen, one of our viewers said that when they saw it, they said, listen, Juneteenth celebration with people in Texas found out that they were no longer slaves. And his opinion is that we're still slaves, because when you support something like that, he says mentally we're still slaves. He went on to say that he thought it was very interesting that he posted on Instagram. He think it's interesting that you have a brother, Garland Gilchrist, who ushered the current governor into the Black community, which no churches and everything else. And then these same people are standing up saying, no D, no D, no R, no I. But basically, they're not supporting him, and they believe that, listen, by this is their opinion, not mine. But by Doug and Rugg running as an independent, he believes that the Republicans are going to win.
I do too. And if I was an enslaved person in Texas, and I found out that slavery had ended 2 years before, I'd have killed everybody there. So you know what? They just would have had to lynch me or whatever, because I would have went berserk. You know, I wouldn't be having no Juneteenth holiday. You know, if people want to have a Juneteenth, that's fine. But we've been bamboozled, we've been suckered, we've been whatever. And those folks right there that stood up there with Doug, and he said, he's my niggas. Come on, just like the master. All they was missing was a plantation, a big house. And then you should have brought Samuel Jackson coming there with Stephen.
Well, Jago, I know, right? But I think, in all seriousness, I think that all of us have opinions, and some opinions I agree with, some opinions I don't. But I think everybody's opinion is valid, and I think this individual made a very valid point. That listen, he said people are trained. He used the N-word. He said they train and they just gonna circle the dot. Whatever somebody tell them to do is gonna be a D or R. They are not going to.
I believe that.
They're not gonna do it.
I believe that. I do believe that. And what I'm so pissed off about Garland Gilchrist, that Gretchen Whitmer got up there and said, this motherfucker can't win. Throw him under the bus. Didn't throw him under the bus when she needed his ass and stuff. Even if she thought, I'm loyal to somebody that's loyal to me.
Right.
Then you throw him under the bus. You dog him out. He been dogged out all over. He's an abused spouse, because he was a Whitmer's spouse, and she abused him. He got Stockholm syndrome because he ain't going against.
Well, listen,
he ain't going against.
My question is always this: then, are you a victim or are you a willing participant? Because after somebody shows you who they are, why do you continue to be?
Why would you no
longer a victim? You are a willing participant.
Why would you feed a rattlesnake?
Okay, so
and then they bite your ass.
So
and then they bite your ass. But people think Duggan is a god. He's on Mount Olympus. But hey, Mount Olympus, it had to come to an end sooner or later. I'm gonna tell you, Democrats. We got two Congress people. One's an idiot that keeps saying I came here with $20, and the other one, all she worried about is she got elected by black people, but then she jumped right to the Gaza Strip, and she could care less about black folks. And when Harris ran for president, she made it clear, don't vote for her. They did, and now they crying that we need to be in a lockstep with them because ICE is coming to get our people. You need to stand with us. Fuck y'all. You know, ICE can do whatever. They can melt y'all if you want to.
Not my circus, right? It's not my circus, but it's going to be interesting because you and I both heard rumblings about someone running against Talib, and if it's the person that I believe it is, listen, I think it should happen. I think I will support the sister if she decides to run. As far as Sri Thanadar is concerned, you know, you had some people that was in the community that supported him 4 years ago.
Well, he paid them off.
So, and now you have people in the community, the same people that supported him. Now they're saying, "Oh, he got to go." I don't understand what changed. What changed?
You tell me.
What changed? You know, you say they paid off. I don't know. I'm just asking a question. Why you for 4 years you were, you know, supportive, and now no, he has to go. So who's going to run against Sri? You have
ain't nobody running against none of them, because as soon as somebody that can beat these people, they go and recruit a Negro to get in there to siphon the votes and stuff. That's like Adam Hollier shouldn't even be running. He shouldn't be running again. He had his time. He fucked up.
Well, Adolph, listen. What does it say about? Listen, I'm a fighter. I don't believe in giving up. Just because you told me no.
But we got two or three people that'll be.
I'm asking who.
There's another young man that's in there that Talib is supporting.
Rashida Tlaib is supporting a young man that's running.
Yeah, but against. So
that's who you think we should support? Somebody.
No, all I'm saying is.
Cynthia Johnson said, right, Adolph, F Rashida Tlaib. Oh my goodness. Cynthia. Queen B said Adam sure shouldn't be running again. He is not likable. Wow, okay. And she went on to say she agreed with Cynthia. Dorian said, what did Curtis Mayfield say? What did he say? What did Curtis Mayfield say?
There's a hell below. We all gonna go.
Yeah. Yep. And Stephanie Jackson said 3 times you out, basically. So, and Eric said Donovan McKinney is the other guy running. Now, is Donovan McKinney the guy that Rashida Tlaib is supporting?
Yeah.
I will look at that as suspect. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I look at that as suspect. I'm sorry.
So we don't have anybody running.
Vanessa. Par Orr said, Vanessa, the 77% should have called the police when Duggan and Kevin Orr showed up in Detroit. The moment Detroiters saw that haircut that Kevin Orr was wearing when he touched down in Detroit, they should have run like hell.
Well, but you have people like Kevin.
Now, somebody said they wonder if Mary Sheffield ran for Congress instead of Mary, could she have beaten Sri or Rashida?
No.
Tlaib. Oh, okay. And Queen B said she agreed with Par Orgs as well. Stephanie said I was saying fuck her 3 times. Oh, okay. So she don't have a lot of people that like her. She has a lot of support in Dearborn, but it covers Southfield, Redford, parts of Detroit, Dearborn, Wells, downriver.
Yeah, a little bit. Tell
Yeah.
them.
So it's going to be interesting. So, like I said, if it's the person that I've been hearing, listen, they need the community needs to get behind this person and support her because I think she's beatable. I think she's beatable. I think she's weak.
Well, we some arguments.
Okay. Uh, Somebody said that they were laughing so hard their side is hurting from laughing at you. Um, he's having lots of meetings there. Who Queen Bee talked about? He's having a lot of meetings. Oh yeah, that's why Shree keeps running downriver. He's having a lot of meetings downriver. Eric said yes, and so is Bernie Sanders. um, Dorian says has to do with the bankruptcy. The feds ordered the city to pay. It is part of the deal. Mr. 1213 says, I wonder if Mary Schiffer already read that. And I think that's it right now. I don't think we have anything else on. Uh, Mr. Evans says anyone on Facebook says any one person can beat either one of them. I think that's what they're saying. Basically, they're saying those people are beatable. Okay.
They are beatable. They are beatable. We keep electing them.
And they also said that we as a community hurt ourselves because we have too many people running for the same office, and it splits the vote.
Where I live in Corktown, and Tyrone, what's his name? State rep.
Tyrone Carter.
He's running for city council.
Yes. Yep.
That Gabriel.
He started to come on the show, so hopefully he will.
The incumbent is the worst in the world.
Not in the world.
In the world.
Not in the world.
In my world.
But it's three people in that race. It's Tyrone, the incumbent, and there's one other person that's wrong. Oh, I told you, Vera Cunningham. That she's running. Reverend Cunningham's.
You can't get some of these people out of there.
Yeah.
They're gonna. So.
Yeah.
Well, what is your outrage of the week?
Well, my outrage of the week was I was going to talk about what we already talked about. I was just stunned that, listen, people could vote for and support whoever they want to support. But I felt like it was a slap in our face that you would have the faith leaders standing up saying, I think it's hypocritical, first of all, saying, listen, we don't care if it's a D or an I or an R. And some of these very same people line up D, line up R, and they support their D candidates and they support their R candidates. But because it's him, it doesn't matter. It's about the Lord. I just find it very, very hypocritical. So I don't know if it's outrage. I would say that it's very bothersome.
Well, very bothersome. Whatever. Have you checked the Supreme Court? It's siding with Trump over the birth.
Am I excited?
No.
Listen, I don't even know. To be honest with you, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. It's not. Listen, it's not my fight. It's not my fight.
Was tag black folks that was brought here as slaves. So it was anybody born in this country was automatic a citizen. That's what it was all about. And I think that them trying to get rid of it is a slap at the 14th Amendment, where they can say you were born here,
so
your parents not from here, but you're not a citizen. Like they had it in Germany, and they changed it because they had all these immigrants coming in, and these people born. in the country. So
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, right now, I mean, I heard it earlier today. I have not allowed it to sit and marinate. You know how I am, Adolph. I analyze everything. And so I don't know how I feel about it right now. I really don't. Especially in light of what is going on here with, you know, some people are outraged that people are being picked up by ICE, and there are some people. I mean, some of these people. I read an article today about a young lady said, "Hey, I voted for the president, and now my husband is leaving because they think he's a terrorist. He's from Iran, and he was in the
Cam, Cam,
military." Blah blah blah.
Candace Owens, Candace Owens said, and she regrets telling people that she supported the president. So bias of course.
Yeah. So I don't. So as it relates to the Supreme Court ruling right now, I really can't tell you. I can't tell our viewers or you how I feel about it. I have not really mulled it over much. I mean, I heard it today on the radio, and I kept it pushing. And to be honest with you, you ask the average person to live here in the city of
They
Detroit.
don't give a fuck.
Exactly. I was just going there. They really don't care. They're trying to figure out how they're paying their bills, how they're going to get from A to B. They worried about their water bill. They worried about their light bill. They worried about the brown water. Whitney Clark asked me about how's my water down here. My water is fine. My water is not brown. How's your water, Adolph?
I drink.
Because they shut down some of the buildings downtown, like the Guardian building, because they have no running water. The water is brown. There's something going on with the water. So,
Well, are you surprised?
I'm not surprised.
The Great Lakes Water Authority is supposed to be the greatest.
Look, we could talk about the Great Lakes Water Authority forever. I mean, that we could talk about them forever. I mean, they were supposed to be the end all to be all, right? And things are still unorganized. Okay.
It's a positive thing.
Yep, it is. G Money Hollywood says, Vanessa, you talk about people supporting their R candidates or their D candidates, but how about supporting a candidate that's an A player? None of them are. They are all C, D, E, F candidates.
Well, we're gonna leave that on that note. We'll come back tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be back tomorrow. We're going to have Tammy Daniels from the Detroit Land Bank. And who else is going to be on the show tomorrow? What's somebody else?
We're gonna have a special guest. We'll let Allan talk about it.
Yeah.
And thanks to everybody that participated in the show.
Yeah, thanks Terry, thanks Whitney Clark, thanks Karen, thanks G Money Hollywood, thanks You Don't Like My Music, Dorian, Queen B, Terry, Tracy Huff, Angela Beatty, Eric Brown, Dory, Mr. 1213, Paul Orgs, thank you so much. We want to thank all of you. Mike Evans, let's see who else, Cynthia Johnson, who else? Karen Winston, of course. I can't forget you, Karen. Did I say Terry McCrimmon already? And Kenneth Reed. Thanks so much, Kenneth. And
thank you for being here. And we'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye.